Hey, this is JP, Jonathan Powell from Hear and Play Music and the Gospel Music Training Center. Thanks for tuning in. This is video 3 of this series. Now, I hope you enjoyed video 1 and 2. I think Jermaine did a phenomenal job in teaching you new concepts and techniques on how to look at the circle of fifths and how to learn your primary chords, your 1, 4, and your 5 chords, which are your major chords, and your minor chords, and how to instantly start to play chord progressions and different songs too as well. Now, that's what we do at Hear and Play. We try to come up with different easy systematic approaches that will help you to learn a lot faster than we did. And I'm not going to do anything different. I'm going to teach you a concept that I picked up on where I learned all my chords in all 12 keys very fast. And I used to circle the fifths too as well, but I used it counterclockwise. That's how music works, more so in fourths rather than fifths. You can look at a 2-5-1. That's a circular chord progression going in fourths. You can look at a 3-6-2. That's also a circular chord progression. A lot of chord progressions that you already play use fourths, and that's how music works most of the time. So that's why I'm teaching you how to use the circle of fifths counterclockwise, which is in fourths, to learn how to play your major chords and your minor chords in all 12 keys. And that's going to help you to pick up on the things that Jermaine did in all 12 keys in video 1 and 2. All right, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to teach you is how to pick out any major chord very fast, no matter what tone you're starting on. All right, so let's check it out. So the first thing that I'm going to do is some review for those of you who don't know how to form major chords and how to use the scale to create them. So major chords are made up of the 1, 3, and the 5 of any major scale. So in the key of C, if we were to look at the scale, we would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. And that C is the 1, D is the 2, E is the 3, F is the 4, G is the 5, A is the 6, B is the 7, and C is the 1. So that is the scale in the number system. So if we were to find a C major chord, we would find a 1, 3, and a 5. And there's your C major chord. So for any key, that's the same system that you would use, but the key thing is that you really have to learn your scales for this particular type of approach. So if we were in the key of F major, we would do the same thing. We would go off the F major scale, where F is the 1, G is the 2, A is the 3, B flat is the 4, C is the 5, D is the 6, E is the 7, and then we're back at the 1 F. So in knowing that, we would say F is the 1, A is the 3, and C is the 5. Because if we look at the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how we got the 1, 3, and the 5 for F major. Now you could take that approach for any particular key, but you can also use this shortcut if you don't know your scales. I'm not telling you to not learn your scales, but I have something called the 4-3 rule, or the 4-3 principle, where in any key, if you were to find the first tone, that would be the chord that you would want to play. So if you're looking to play a G major chord, the first thing you do is find the G on the keyboard or the piano. And then you would use my 4-3 rule, which basically means you would go up 4. So you would count 4 half steps. And the half step is pretty much just going to the next note. You can go up a half step, you can go down a half step. And a whole step will be to skip a note. So we're not doing whole steps, we're doing half steps. So you would go up 4 half steps, and that's just going chromatically up the keyboard. So find your first tone. If you're trying to play a G major chord, find the G, and then go up 4 half steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is the next note of the chord. So you got your 1 and your 3 already, just by doing the 4 half step rule. And now we're going to go up 3 half steps from here. So basically you would count 3 going up from B. So C, D flat, D. So you would go 1, 2, 3. So now we have a G major chord using the 4-3 rule. So the first thing is to find the tone that you want to go to, or the chord that you want to play based off of the tone, the first tone. So we're trying to play a G major chord. So then we would say 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3. And now we have a G major chord. So remember the 4-3 rule. So that'll make it easier to find any chord in any key. let's say we want us to find an A flat major chord. Okay, hit A flat. Use the 4-3 principle, or the 4-3 rule. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3. And now we have an A flat major chord. So that's a quick way to find any chord in any key. Let's try one more. Let's try a D major chord. Okay, find the D, and then count up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we have the first 2 notes of the chord, and then you count up 3 more. 1, 2, 3. And now we have a D major chord. So that's a quick way to find any major chord in all 12 keys. So now that we got that out the way, let's get down to the meat of things. I'm going to teach you how to play your major chords in all 12 keys using this system we call the circle of fourths. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is start off with your left hand, because your left hand is going to act as a roadmap to tell your right hand the next chord is going to go to next. For example, we're going to play C first, then we're going to go to F, then B flat, and so on. We're going counterclockwise on the circle because that's fourths, and clockwise that's fifths. So we're going against time, we're going counterclockwise. So I'm doing this because this is going to help you to internalize the circle of fourths, where you don't necessarily have to rely on any paper or any website or anything. It's going to be in your mind. So that's going to help you, because as you're playing chord progressions and things like 2-5-1s, 3-6-2s, you're going to automatically know what to do, because those are circular movements. They go right off the circle of fourths. For example, if we were in the key of C and we're going to do a 2-5-1, let me show you. So C is the 1, D is the 2, E is the 3, F is the 4, G is the 5, A is the 6, B is the 7, C is the 1, right? That's the scale in the number system for C. So a 2-5-1 in music is a very common chord progression. Anytime you want to go back to the 1, a lot of times you're going to use a 2-5-1. So if we look at a 2-5-1 in the key of C, you're going to go from D, that's the 2, to G, that's the 5, to 1. Okay, that's the C. So if we look at the circle of fourths and we start on the 2, which is D, look at it. D, G, C. It's going right around the circle. D, G, C. That's a 2-5-1. Same thing in the key of, let's say, B flat. 1, B flat is the 1, C is the 2, D is the 3, E flat is the 4, F is the 5. So I'm just going to do that much because all we need is a 2-5-1. So in the key of B flat, C is the 2, F is the 5, and B flat is the 1. So C, F, B flat. And if we look at that, C, F, B flat, that is how we're moving in fourths. Same thing like, let's say 7-3-6. That's a very common chord progression to get to the 6, which is minor in most cases. So if we look at a 7-3-6 in the key of, let's see, D flat, okay? D flat is the 1, E flat is the 2, F is the 3, G flat is the 4, A flat is the 5, B flat is the 6, C is the 7, and then we're back at the 1, D flat. So that's the scale. So if we were to do a 7-3-6, which I said is a very common chord progression, we would go from C, that's the 7, to F, that's the 3, to B flat. And as you see, C, F, B flat, we're going in fourths. So in doing so, when you start to play chord progressions, you're going to automatically know how certain chord progressions are going to move based upon just memory, just not doing this. Whoops, that was wrong. There we go. All right, so just practicing the circle of fourths is going to help you with doing and knowing chord progressions just automatically, and also knowing how to play your chords in all 12 keys. All right, so let's get to it. So the first thing we're going to do is start on C, then go to F. Just practice this at any pace. To B flat, to E flat, to A flat, D flat, G flat, B, E, A, D, G, and then we're starting all over again, okay? So you can do this at any pace, any speed, But the key thing is to do it over and over to the point where you don't have to think about it. Because notice, I'm not even thinking about it because I'm talking and playing it at the same time. So how can I think about it? You know what I mean? So that's the point you want to be at. That's the mastery level. And that's the goal that you want to reach. Okay? So you can do this for as long as you want. You don't necessarily have to keep up at this pace, but these are just tools and concepts that I want you to practice on your own. Really internalize the circle of force by doing this. Okay? You can do it at any speed. So in practicing the major chords in all 12 keys, the first thing we're going to do is start with the C major chord. So we know that the C major chord is C, E, and G, right? That's the 1, 3, and 5 for C major. So if we use the circle of fourths, right? What's the next chord that we're going to go to? It's going to be an F major chord. So now we're going to go from C major to F major. So we're going from C major to F major. So now we have F, A, and C over F in the left hand. Now from here, if we're still moving in fourths, what's the next tone we're going to go to? It's B flat. So now we're going to go to a B flat major chord. Now you have a decision to make. You can play a B flat major chord up here, or you can play it down here. It really doesn't matter. It all depends on how you want to move. Okay, so we have B flat, D, and F. Okay, and that's over the B flat bass. You can play it up here or down here. So far, we went from C major to F major to B flat major. And what I like about practicing like this is it kind of sounds like you're actually playing something rather than, you know, doing things in half steps. You know, it's great doing things in half steps. You know, it works, but I like using the circle because it sounds like you're actually playing, you know, something, you know. So C major, F major, B flat major. Then the next tone we're going to go to is E flat major. So now we have E flat, G, and B flat over E flat. Then A flat major. So A flat, C, and E flat. So A flat, C, and E flat. That's an A flat major chord. Then we're going to go to a D flat major chord. And just like earlier, you can play it up here or down here. It doesn't matter. Okay? So D flat, F, and A flat. Now this is also going to help you to move from chord to chord. If you're not used to moving around on the piano, this is also going to help you with that too as well. So we got D flat, F, and A flat. That's a D flat major chord. So now we're going to go to a G flat major chord. And we have G flat in the left hand, and then G flat, B flat, and D flat in the right. That's your G flat major chord. Then from here, we're going to go to B major. And we have B, E flat, and G flat. And from here, we're going to go to E major. We have E, A flat, and B, and technically, I would say G sharp, because in the key E major, this would be a sharp, but my digital keyboard says flat, so that's why I'm saying that. Okay, so that's E major. Then we're going to go to A major, and I have A, C sharp, or D flat, and E. Okay? Same rule applies. You would technically call this a sharp. So from here, we're going to go to D major. And we have D, G flat, also known as F sharp, and A. Then to G major, G, B, and D. Then to C major. So now we're already back to where we started from. So these are all your root position major chords, okay? So start on C, then go to F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B, E, A, D, G, and we're back at it again, okay? So this is the concept that I use to play and learn all my chords in all 12 keys. And the more you get into chord extensions, the sweeter it's going to sound. So when you start to add nines and things like that, that's when you're really going to enjoy it, okay? So this is, the root position major chords. So let's talk about inversions. So this is root position. So a quick tip to find first inversion, which will be the next inversion of the same chord. So basically, you're going to put C up here. So it's all the same notes, but you're inverting it up. So now you're just rearranging the notes. So one quick tip to find first inversion for any particular chord is always remember that the root note is the tone or the key of the chord that you're in. So in this case, we're playing a C major chord. So C is the root. The root note is always going to be in your pinky for first inversion. So if we wanted to go to an F major chord in first inversion, the first thing to do is put your pinky on F. So that's a quick thing or a quick way to think about it. Let's say we're going to B flat major, right? In first inversion. Well, if you know that your pinky is always going to be on the root, then that makes it easier to move kind of in the vicinity of where you're supposed to be without really having to think too much. So I like to do things using shortcuts. So first inversion for C is E, G, C. So you would practice the first inversion chords the same way as you did with the root position chords. Okay, so we're starting on C. And then we're going to go to F major. So move your pinky to F. So now this is first inversion for F, and we're playing all the same notes of the F major chord. It's just first inversion. So now we have A, C, and F. And it's going to take some time and practice for you to actually get this. I don't expect you to do it at the same pace as me if you're not used to playing major chords at all, but that's a quick tip, okay? So now we're going to go from an F major to a B flat major chord. So now we have D flat, F, and B flat. This is first inversion. Pinky on B flat. Now we're going to go to E flat major. Put the pinky on E flat. So now we have E flat in the left hand and then G, B flat, and E flat. So now we're going to go to A flat major. Put the pinky on A flat. And now we have A flat in the left hand, C, E flat, and A flat. So just do this for all the chords. So now we're going to go to D flat. And we have F, A flat, and D flat. Then to G flat. B flat, D flat, and G flat. Then to B. E flat, G flat, and B over B. Okay, so you should be starting to see the pattern of what's going on. So now we're going to go to E. And every time I go to, a different chord, my top note is the same as my bottom because that's the root note. That's where we're going to go. So we have A flat or G sharp, B and E. Okay, then we go to A major. Then we go to D major. Then we go to G major. Then we're back at C major. Okay? So if you wanted to learn all your inversions the same way, you would do that using a circle of fourths. So here we go. Let's try it. So I'm going to go real slow so you can see. So C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B, E, A, D, G, and then we're back at it again. Okay? So eventually, you'll be able to speed it up. Okay, and so on. So that's first inversion. Now let's look at second inversion. Now I'm going to show you another tip where you can learn second inversion real quick, just like we did first inversion. So the thing about second inversion, and let's look at a C major chord. This is root position. This is first inversion. And now this is second inversion. So what do you notice about second inversion? Well, what I like to do is focus on the root note. So the middle finger is always going to be on the root note. So if you're in the key of C major, then, and you want to play a second inversion, always remember, middle finger is going to be on the root. So now we have G, C, and E. So if we wanted to play an F major chord in second inversion, what's the first thing that you're going to do? Move your middle finger to F. And then your other fingers are going to just about be right where they're supposed to be. Okay, so now we have C, F, and A. Let's go to B flat. Move the middle finger to B flat. So now we have second inversion B flat major, F, B flat, D. Now we're going to go to E flat. So middle finger on E flat, and now we have B flat, E flat, and G. So that's the concept. These are shortcuts and techniques that you can use to help you speed up the process. Let's go to A flat. So we have E flat, A flat, and C. Then so forth and so on, okay? So this is how you practice second inversion. So at this point, you should get it. I don't want this lesson to be too long, okay? So I'm gonna go through the circle of fourths, and I'm gonna practice the second inversion major chord. So here we go. C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B, E, A, D, G, and so forth and so on. So that's second inversion. So that was major chords and how to play them in all 12 keys using the circle of fourths as well as all the inversions. Now let's talk about minor chords. And before we really get started into that, I want to lay down some foundation. Now, just in case you didn't watch the first two videos that Jermaine did, I'm going to do some review. So if we look at the circle, right, we have notes on the outside. Those represent the major keys and major chords. So that's the outside. Now, if we look at the inside, these notes represent minor keys as well as minor chords, okay? So if we look at these in pairs, we will see that we have C up top and A minor or AM below that. So these two are related. C is the relative major of A minor, or you can say A minor is the relative minor of C major. In other words, they're related. How they're related is what I want to explain to you real quick. So if we look at the key of C, right? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's the C major scale. The C major scale is the same exact thing as A minor or the A minor scale. You could think of them as cousins or, you know, relatives. They have the same bloodline, and in a sense, the bloodline is the scale. So basically, if you're playing in C major, it's kind of like you're playing in A minor too as well. They're the same notes. So the A minor scale is the C major scale. It just starts from a different point. So if we want to play the A minor scale, all we have to do is start from the sixth tone because A is the sixth tone of C. So C, D, E, F, G, A, right? That's the sixth tone. So basically the A minor scale are all the same notes, just starting from A to A. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. So it's all the same notes. So that's why they're related. A is the relative minor of C. They share the same tones. Okay, so one thing to point out is that each of these are the relatives for each tone. So G is the relative major for E minor. D is the relative major for B minor. So if you're in the key of B minor, you're really in the key of D major. So that's what these represent, or that's one way to look at it. Now, one thing I want to show you, one shortcut that you can use that I developed is that because you know all your major chords already, or if you've practiced them the way I showed you earlier, then it's going to make it easier for you to find these minor chords. Now, if we want to find an A minor chord without really having to be technical using the scale, the first thing to do is play a C major chord, because C is the relative major of A minor, right? So if we wanted to find what the minor chord was, well, the first thing to do that I developed as a shortcut would be to play a C major chord, right? And then from there, you play C, E, G, right? So get rid of the top note and just leave the first two. Then from there, count down 1, 2, 3. So this is an A minor, okay? So start with C major. And if we want to play an A minor chord, just count, get rid of the, I can't even talk. Get rid of the top note, and then from here, count down 1, 2, 3 from C. 1, 2, 3. And now we have an A minor chord, a basic A minor chord. Let's try to find a B minor chord. So if we look at B minor, D major, or D is the relative minor of B minor. So if you want to, if you know all your major chords, start with a D major chord. Let go of the top note, which is the 5. So just leave the 1 and the 3 of D major, get rid of the 5. And then from the root, count down 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3. So now we have a B minor chord. Let's try it with a G flat major chord. I'm sorry, let's try it with an E flat minor chord. So if we're trying to find an E flat minor chord, we see that E flat is here, right? And G flat is the relative major. So find a G flat major chord first. 1, 3, and 5 is G flat major. Get rid of the 5th tone of G flat major. So now we just have the 1 and the 3. Now from the 1, which is G flat, count down 1, 2, 3. So now instantly we have an E flat minor chord. This concept is very simple. So let's say we wanted to find a relative minor for G. So if we look at G major, and we want to find a relative minor for G, we're basically looking for an E minor chord. So start with G major, let go of the top note, 1, 2, 3, E minor. So that's a quick way to find basically all the relative minors for each of these major chords. So in doing so, we can actually practice how to play these in all 12 keys. So once you find and know all your major chords, the next step would be to play them in all 12 keys using the circle of fourths the same way that we did with the major chords, right? So the first chord that, you can either start with the A minor, or you can just start with this, you can use the system and look at the C as a reference point, because that's how we learn. So if you want to stay using the same formula with how you practice your left hand just for continuity's sake, then you could do that. But if you've practiced this enough, you'll get to a point where you can start anywhere. You can start, on G flat. It won't really matter where you start, because it's going to be so deeply rooted into your mind that, it's going to just come as second nature. But it really all depends on how you want to start. But when you learn minor chords and practice minor chords in all 12 keys, use the same concept as major chords, all right? So you can start anywhere, but in this case, I'm just going to start with C minor just for the sake of continuity, because I showed you how to practice the left hand like this. Okay, so if we start with C minor, C, E flat, and G, the next thing we're going to do is go to F minor, which is F, A flat, and B flat, F, A flat, and C. So at this point, in your playing, at some point, you're going to have to really understand, all your basic minor chords. But really, the idea is that you want to practice using the circle of fourths, just like we did with major chords. So you start with C minor, then you go to F minor, then B flat minor, then E flat minor, then A flat minor, then D flat minor, G flat minor, B minor, E minor, A minor, D minor, G minor. So starting off, it would be good to write the chords down, because you can have a quick reference, and then you can also write them in order too as well, until you get to a point where you kind of have them memorized. So you can start with C minor, you can write that down, then write down F minor, and just have this reference, but practice this. This could be something that you can warm up with in your practice before you start practicing a song or something like that. This will help you to learn all your basic chords in all 12 keys, right? And just like major chords, use the same concept with inversions. So for first inversion, the root note is always going to go to your pinky. So anytime you play, a first inversion chord with this particular minor chord or any minor chord, know that the first inversion is going to start with your pinky note. You can do that first and then find the rest of the notes right after. So we got E flat, G, and C. So the root, which is C, is going to the pinky. So if we're going to go from C to F, well, basically, we're going to move the pinky to F. So the left hand and the pinky are going to be moving the same way. So just C minor, F minor, B flat minor, E flat minor, A flat minor, D flat minor. And it makes it easy for you to play these in all 12 keys because you have a reference point knowing that your pinky is going to go to the same note as the root. So that's first inversion. So quick rule, put your pinky on the root note and then play all the other tones that relate to the chord. So you got your C, E flat, and G. So obviously if C is going to your pinky, what you got left is E flat and G. Those are the rest of the notes of the C minor chord, okay? So if we think about second inversion, the middle finger is going to play the root note. So for C minor, we have to put the middle finger on C. So now we have G, C, and E flat. So just like the major chords, you take the same concept, and then it just makes it easier for you to practice all your inversions. Obviously, I can't go through every single one and break it all the way down like that. So that's minor chords and how to play them in all 12 keys using the circle of fourths. Now, I wish I had more time to get into the different inversions, but that's your homework. Trust me, in doing so, you're going to reap the benefits because it's going to further implant all the information into your head. And trust me, that's going to help you more so in the long run. So this is JP, Jonathan Powell, signing off. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Feel free to drop some comments. Let us know what you guys are thinking of these lessons. Also, take note, there's a timer on this page. Once that gets to 0, we're going to be doing something very big. All right, so take note of that. Other than that, this is JP signing out. Until next time, remember, if you can hear it, you can play it.